July saw central bankers on both sides of the Atlantic talking about the lack of inflation pressure as a reason to be very measured in unwinding supportive monetary policy. Disappointing US inflation and retail sales data seemed to reinforce that view, keeping a lid on interest rates. That was supportive for risk assets, particularly emerging market stocks. In Brazil, President Michel Temer pushed through a key labor reform bill, and hope for further structural reforms was also boosted when former populist President Lula, a strong contender to replace Temer in the 2018 elections, was convicted on bribery charges, dealing a blow to his chances of challenging for power. This left Brazilian stock indices up about 10% in US dollars for the month. Indian and Chinese stock market indices were also up strongly in July. China delivered encouraging economic data during the month, including surprisingly strong second quarter GDP growth of 6.9%, fueled predominantly by domestic consumption. Oil had its first positive month of the year, with Brent crude oil up 10% as OPEC pushed for further supply cuts and the US oil inventories got back to their January lows. About 60% of S&P 500 companies reported earnings during July, with those companies reporting earnings growth of over 10%. Energy companies were a key driver of that growth, nearly tripling their earnings, while strong Facebook earnings saw it end the month up over 12%. In Europe, the earnings were also good, with about 2/3 of Eurostoxx 50 companies reporting. Those companies delivered earnings growth of around 8%, though this was largely in line with expectations, leaving the index roughly flat for July. The US dollar had a torrid month, down against most currencies, including a 4% drop against the euro. Dovish central bank rhetoric and mediocre inflation data were key drivers, but the Trump presidency also continued to weigh on sentiment. Trump failed again to convince the Senate to repeal Obama's healthcare program. He continued to rotate White House staff at an alarming rate, and during the month he also had to deal with allegations that his son had discussions with the Russians last year regarding help with his presidential campaign. Thank you.